Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. Hello, once again, to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen. Today is January 12th, 2024, and 1 year ago today was the first airing of the Juice Box. And here we are 1 year later, a little older, a little wiser, and I appreciate everybody who's gone out and listened and found the Juice Box podcast out there, any wrestling fans that have actually found this show. Shout out to Wrestling Nation, of course. I'd like to thank them for being very supportive, always chiming in with some Ask Juice, just talking wrestling on the daily, always exciting times going back and forth with those guys on pay-per-view nights and Raw, Dynamite, stuff like that. And we're going to touch on a little Ask Juice at the end of this episode. But I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank Josh Eisenberg, Josh Taylor, Josh Cross, Donnie, Justin LeBar, as just guests on the Juice Box in this first year. I'm so thrilled that I had any guests at all, but how things came together and how I kind of got to set things up made those happen. And we got Josh Eisenberg on prediction shows for the most part. We had LeBar for the Payback one. Hopefully we'll get him on another prediction show sooner than later. Of course, Triple Threat Theater, which I can report, hopefully, that a recording of the third volume and installment of the Triple Threat Theater series will be taking place very soon. Hopefully that episode, if it is recorded soon, can be also released sooner rather than later. In addition, look out for some more episodes of the SIP series, my sit-down interview style series I've been doing. I started with Josh Taylor from 93.7 The Fan, as well as KDKA on TV, which was a great sit-down I had with him, just talking his life as a wrestling fan, some wrestling fans, just history as a fan, and what he thinks of the current product, our history, stuff like that. I'm looking forward to more interactions like that going forward. And I have a couple of ideas of who's going to, hop in the Juice Box for a SIP series. So be on the lookout for that as well. But, enough gushing, as it really not much gushing. It's just thanking everybody for supporting the Juice Box. And hopefully we can have the same support and grow as we move into 2024. So happy birthday, Juice Box. 1 year old. But let's get the other stuff out of the way. Juicy Steen on Twitter, juicysteen.podbean.com for this podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, where you can find the Juice Box. Apple Podcasts, if you do see it there, iTunes, if you could rate and review this 5 stars, or I like to say 5 straws, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram is where I could also be found, discussing shirts, Seinfeld, wrestling, everything under the sun. So year of the Juice Box. Got a couple of things coming down the pike here shortly. Royal Rumble just around the corner here. As of the air date here, we are only 15 days away from the Royal Rumble, which I am thrilled for. The predictions for that show will be coming up in a couple of weeks, obviously. And not too much really set in stone outside of a fatal 4-way between Roman Reigns, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton for that undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Don't know where that's going to really go. I'm not going to do full predictions here on this program today, but venture to say there's an outside shot Roman loses the title here without getting pinned and setting up some future stuff down the line. But that's a little early to be talking about it, so we will wait until then. Also, there's a couple of episodes of the Juice Box that I think could be interesting to some. I've just been, as I've been collecting some info, figuring out for the SIP series what I want to do, getting Triple Threat Theater back out there. I'm thinking of maybe doing, hear me out on these ideas. And you're very quick to dismiss. As a WCW fan, I was thinking about this the other night. This is what I do late in my night in my thoughts. I'd like to do a retrospective on the cage matches in WCW's history, spanning from 1990 to 2001 when WCW folded. And I'm not going to necessarily discuss the TV cage matches because then it's really going to, too much. But over the course of Clash of the Champions and pay-per-views, I did note some notable cage matches because, to me, back in the day, I always was privy to, whether it was WWE or WCW, ECW, wherever, not necessarily a physical board, but like an idea of a board saying, look, it's been this many pay-per-views since we did a cage match. Maybe it's time we do one again. Or it's been this long since we've done a ladder match. Spacing them out to make them not as common, which now that's all out the window. You can have multiple Hell in a Cell matches in a year. They have pay-per-views dedicated to Money in the Bank. And the world is a little different here in 2024. But I just find it interesting. For instance, in WCW, they had a cage match, maybe every year it seemed. They had Wrestle War and Fall Brawl with the War Games, but also they had random cage matches at Halloween Havocs, at Super Brawl, Uncensored, at Clash of the Champions, as I said. So there's a lot of interesting stuff I can dive into there with the WCW cage match retrospective. I know it's really random and out of left field, but I've been thinking about it, and I might do just a separate short form episode on that. Another idea I've been thinking about, and I might reach out. I've reached out to a few individuals just to hear their ideas and thoughts on it, but I have not actually asked anybody to do this yet. I might do one solo and then see how it goes. Maybe get some other folks in here to do it with me. But I would love to do a watch-along episode. Not necessarily a pay-per-view, at least to start, because that's 3 hours worth of the juice box, which might be too much for me to handle in a week. But to do a match, a specific match that I'd like to rewatch, and just kind of tell everybody when to hit play. You play it, and it'll have my commentary on it. So I've loved that concept, the Conrad Thompson watch-along concept, and I would love to do it on my own. But I'm sure some of the guys in Triple Threat Theater might want to tag along for that, So the invite is out there if that interests anybody. Or in Wrestling Nation, if anybody out there is curious about maybe doing a watch-along or has a match to suggest, any of those ideas I'm up for, certainly to maybe give that a test run. And if that goes well, I'd like to do that every now and again. Just throw a match on and get some commentary from me and some others, because I love showing fans, other fans matches that I love that they might not be privy to, or, showing non-wrestling fans a match that might show them that wrestling is really great and this is exciting and entertaining. And I love all that. So, and alternate commentary is really fun. So I would love to go back and I could, go over specifically a WCW match. The match goes on. I can kind of discuss the history of what the show is or what led up to this particular match and just go through that. Imagine us doing that for a Royal Rumble match. There's just a lot of ideas out there, and I'm curious to hear the thoughts if there are any. But yeah, I think it's a couple of new ideas for the Juice Box in 2024. But like I said, SIP series is going to keep going. I got a couple things in the pike there, and Triple Threat Theater as well. Of course, every other week is the regular Juice Box and the predictions, as always. So let's get into this week. Not too much on screen. I'd like to touch a lot on the outside of the ring. Primarily the Tony Khan social media Jinder Mahal thing, which we'll get to. I'm going to go over Dynamite a little bit, go over Raw a little bit. I mentioned the SmackDown main event for Royal Rumble. but we will also do a little preview of the TNA pay-per-view, the first TNA pay-per-view in like 7 years since the rebranding now. Hard to Kill, which I believe is tomorrow on, I think you can see it on Fight. I know Impact Plus. Shout out to Matt in Wrestling Nation. I believe he's getting TNA Plus. So should be an interesting show. I'm going to run down that card a little bit just to get a little preview of it, because some of it kind of pertains to other entities in wrestling, and they also unveiled some new titles, so I'd like to discuss that as well. But yeah, let's get into, I'm going to pull up this first. Okay, so interestingly, on Raw, let's go through Raw. We're gonna start with Raw, kind of touch on Raw, then we'll get into Dynamite, and then we'll get into the Tony Khan stuff, and then we will end. We'll touch a little bit on the Impact stuff, of course, and then we will end with the Ask Juice segment, which primarily is a Wrestling Nation Ask Juice, but there is some good juicy stuff in there, so I will be touching on that. And that'll be this week. Nothing too crazy this week, but it's the year anniversary of the Juice Box, where it's going to be a hodgepodge. We're going to bounce around, get some opinions in there, and we'll put this thing to bed. So let's get into Raw a little bit. Once again, Raw had a tough task ahead of them. This time they had CM Punk on the show, though, to combat the national championship game for college football, which turned out to still be kind of a game, even though it was a blowout for a good portion. But Raw came out on with an okay rating, so they survived. Now, of course, like last week they had the college football playoff semifinal games. This week they had the national championship game, and next Monday they are going to have the wild card playoff game between the Eagles and Buccaneers. So 3 weeks in a row of just brutal football competition for them. But after that, they do have the go-home show for Royal Rumble. So it'll be nice to see them get back on track as they begin the road to WrestleMania. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre had an interesting promo segment on Raw. And, Drew McIntyre, I got to tell you, has vastly improved on the mic, I think, over the course of the last 5 years. I know when he went to Impact, Drew Galloway, he kind of honed in on his physique and his in-ring ability, and he's only gotten better there. But now, being a part of WWE now again, he's really improved on the microphone, and he hung with CM Punk for sure. And these guys have never, to my knowledge, had a singles match against each other. So I don't know if they're going to have a match against each other, but I do like this this idea of, CM Punk comes back into the fold in November, Survivor Series. He's got a couple of interactions with Seth Rollins. He's got interactions, he mentions, Roman Reigns. He mentions a few people, and now Drew McIntyre has an issue with him, and he's cutting promos against him. But we're leading to the Royal Rumble. So it's going to lead to, this guy, that guy, a lot of competition to throw CM Punk out of the, Royal Rumble and try to prevent Punk from getting what he ultimately wants, which is the main event of WrestleMania, whether that's night 1 or night 2, for the shot at a title. And one of the best, quickest ways to do that is to win the Royal Rumble. Although it's not really that quick. It's over an hour, but you get my point. And to me, I like this, the animosity. A bunch of different guys Punk is interacting with, and it could be any of them trying to take Punk down. The Judgment Day is pissed off. Drew McIntyre doesn't like him. Seth Rollins, who isn't in the Rumble match, but he's got some stake in not wanting Punk to win the Rumble. He doesn't want to face Punk. He's not going to say that, but I don't think he wants to face him. I think he knows that he probably would lose that match, and at least in kayfabe. So Punk being in there and Cody Rhodes really making a push as well, it's going to be tough for me to think that it's not. before Punk returned to WWE, which shocked everybody, I had Grayson Waller, LA Knight, Randy Orton, and Gunther in the final four of the Rumble. Now I think it's shifted to CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, maybe a Drew McIntyre, maybe a Jey Uso. There's a lot. There maybe a Lesnar if he returns, which I do think he will. There's a lot of intrigue there. Of course, it's Royal Rumble season, so this is the best time for speculation and intrigue. I don't know what is going to happen, and that's the best thing. But there's a lot of different avenues, a lot of different guys that have a claim that they could win, and I could see a couple of these guys actually winning. Ultimately, and this is not just a prediction, even though I know predictions are going to come later on in a couple weeks, but right now, for my money, and of course the betting odds are alongside me, I think CM Punk's going to win this thing. I think CM Punk is going to win the Royal Rumble, and whether he wants to go for the World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins or he wants to challenge Roman Reigns or whoever is champion, I think that's going to be what happens. I don't see how Punk doesn't win this. I do. Cody could easily win it and go back-to-back. Drew could win his second. There's a lot of different options on the table, and that's the best way to go about it. Why wouldn't you want that as a fan? So we'll see. But I love just seeing Punk creating animosity with a lot of guys, and now there's options there, and who wants to throw him out and what have you. Ludwig Kaiser, really showed some solid promo work as well this week. Shout out to him. Not going to go into it too in depth, but I enjoy what he said on the mic. We get more of this, Judgment Day, R-Truth thing. I don't know what we're going to do going forward. I don't know what this means at Royal Rumble. But I just think that I don't know if the Judgment Day is going to start unfolding by then, at the Rumble, but could R-Truth be that catalyst? I don't know, but we'll see. Ivar and Otis had a hell of a little bout there. It probably wasn't as good as Ivar and Bronson Reed. However, there were a solid few spots in the match, so we'll see how far maybe a guy like Ivar goes. I know maybe it's not a popular opinion, but give me Bronson Reed and Otis and Ivar and give them a match, or man, give them a spot somewhere. It's unfortunate that the United States title is really hooked with Logan Paul right now, because I see him holding it till WrestleMania. The IC title is with Gunther, and I'm not sure he's going to lose it to any of these guys leading up to Mania. So unfortunately, I don't see any titles involved with these bigger guys, but man, they're doing some really solid in-ring work every week, so I like that. We had Cody and Shinsuke in a street fight. Cody gets the win, of course. You have Nakamura as well now in the Rumble, so there's a lot of intrigue with the Rumble coming up. But again, this is always, the story here. But it's with a few weeks away. A lot of things have been kind of set up, and now we're going to start building closer and closer to this Royal Rumble PLE coming up in Tampa. And, of course, Jinder Mahal. This is the other piece here. Jinder Mahal, he interrupts Seth Rollins and then got made fun of by, Rollins, and how The Rock attacked him and beat him up. And we're going to get to the Jinder Mahal of it here in a second, but I like that he's getting time. And it does seem, I want to make sure I have this correct. Yeah, next week on Raw, we are getting Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal for the World Heavyweight title. All right, let's get into it. So Jinder has the appearance last week, right? On day one, he has the appearance. It's the red herring of all red herrings to get The Rock out. The Rock comes out, and really puts a verbal assault on Jinder, puts a physical assault on Jinder, and that's it. Signed, sealed, and delivered. And I did remark last week that Jinder got some offense in on The Rock, which was nice because I haven't seen The Rock take any offense in quite a long time. So Jinder now comes out on Raw, interrupts Rollins, and now we get Jinder versus Seth for the world title. And then, craziness ensues. Earlier this week, Raj Giri, formerly of Wrestling Inc., I do believe he does his own thing now, but he tweeted something, right? He tweeted something about I'm not really. I don't have the tweet pulled up. I have other items pulled up that I can address here, but he puts out a tweet regardless. USA Network responds and says, well, what's the cage match rating for that? Out of nowhere. Not WWE, but the USA Network social media team, which is genius, by the way, who makes a joke based off of how Tony Khan admits that cagematch.net is like, a way that they kind of follow booking and seeing how the fans respond and how the matches are rated, and kind of curtails it based off of that in all kind of a phrase or a phrasing. And that kind of turned a lot of people off. It was like, why the hell? First of all, even if you do, book based off of a site, or you care about, the star ratings, Meltzer, what have you. Even if you care about that stuff, or, you do the research in Cage Match, and even if that's all true, I don't know if it was the smartest idea to just outright say that on an interview, on the record. Because now everybody's going to, it's not that he cares about people making fun of him, but it's like, everybody's going to be critical of, oh, well, you only made this match because it seems like it could be the best overall in-ring match based off like a website that's all opinion. It's only a certain amount of people. Like, would Eric Bischoff go off of the Meltzer ratings to curtail his booking in WCW? Like, this is where the hypocrisy would come in. Like, would he do that? I don't know. Lo and behold, Eric Bischoff quotes that. He quoted, Tony Khan shoots back at USA Network, stating, Jinder Mahal, or like, I would be quiet for a network that's going to have, Jinder Mahal, who hasn't won literally a match in a year, going for the world title next week. And Eric Bischoff, quotes it and just has the clown emoji as saying, what is this? Why are you diving into this? Why are you responding to the USA Network Twitter account? And it was a back and forth of, Hook is 28-1. He deserves a shot at Samoa Joe. This makes sense. He earned this. He's just not just given a shot. Other accounts said Abaddon kind of got a shot after one match. And all these little nuances. And it got to this point of Eric Bischoff saying, look, would I have, done, tweeted out or been on social media and shot over the bow, across the bow against WWE if, that was the case back then? And of course he would. But that's not the issue here. The issue is Tony Khan does that. And in fact, he interacts with plenty of fans and is very vocal and active on Twitter. For better or worse, I'm talking to you, justified This Is Awesome Chance tweets that are scheduled for Dynamite every single week, which is an abomination to social media. Eric Bischoff was on Nitro, grabbing signs from the crowd saying Raw fears ratings. He would spoil episodes of taped Monday Night Raws for the audience so they wouldn't change the channel weeks in advance. He called out Vince McMahon and invited him to wrestle him at Slamboree 98. WWE, on the other hand, did similar. They did the Huckster and the Nacho Man stuff. They had DX with a tank pushing towards the Scope in Norfolk for an episode of Nitro. All these things happened. But you know why they worked? Because they were on TV. They were on the show that company put forth this, shot at another company while they were on their own show. Not on social media where no matter how great the jokes are, no matter how much engagement, no matter how many millions of views you get on your tweets, none of that equals ratings. None of that equals viewership week to week for Dynamite. Yet Tony Khan wants to do this. He lives by this. He wants to talk, respond to trolls, call out Eric Bischoff, who, God, he said, Tony Khan said Eric Bischoff was like a nobody or something. Whatever the phrasing was, I can't recall. But then Eric Bischoff quoted it with a screen cap of when Eric was on AEW Dynamite, and it was like groundbreaking person in the wrestling industry. And he says, groundbreaking, old has been or whatever. Like, living in the moment for that. All of this would be great stuff if it were on Dynamite. Like, if Tony Khan went on Dynamite and was like, look, hey, Triple H, I don't know why you have Jinder going for the world title next week. He didn't even earn it. What a sham that is. Like, do you want to talk controversy? Eric Bischoff wrote a book, and it's all his MO. Controversy creates cash. But social media doesn't. Social media just creates engagement, clicks, clout. Nothing real. You know how I can prove that? This week, when this all happened, and, I will say, friend of the show, Andrew Baydala, shout out to Andrew, who, along with JD, does the Tuesday Night Titans on YouTube, said, look, hey, this is good. This is gonna put forth viewers to Dynamite tomorrow night. And, you guys aren't seeing the bigger picture. This is really going to push viewers to Dynamite. I am just going to say 797,000 viewers this week. That's minus 1% from last week. Didn't even hit 800,000. And it's the fourth lowest rating since NXT went to Tuesdays. But hey, Tony Khan did great on social media. And here's the thing, before this gets too crazy, I like Tony Khan. Tony Khan is me. Tony Khan is you. He's a hardcore wrestling fan. He was at Chris Jericho's final match at ECW. That is hardcore fan to a T. He bought Ring of Honor to revive it. He is, to me, Eric Bischoff plus Paul Heyman in a way. He's a fan that's got a lot of money and is booking a show. Like, he's got a lot of little things to go for, that are from other people. Like, I can see in his character and how he presents himself. But a lot of times he gets in his own way, and unfortunately, when you go above and beyond on Twitter and it doesn't equate to ratings. I'm sorry. So at some point, you got to put forth something better on screen. Otherwise, these ratings are never going to eclipse 1 million again. Meanwhile, Raw's going, crazy. They got The Rock pulling in huge numbers. They got CM Punk back in the fold. Royal Rumble's coming up. We are almost on the road to WrestleMania. AEW, you better step up. Because right now, WWE's on fire. And it's just, it is a slippery slope if, it's just the social media thing. I love that you're doing it. I love that, because, yeah, Eric Bischoff would have absolutely done this back in the day, but he also would have done it on screen because he did do it on screen. He did it as blatantly and vocally on screen as possible. So I don't, the point of, oh, well, Eric would have done it too. Okay, but Eric did the end all be all. He did as much as he possibly could back then. Sometimes to a detriment, i.e. January 4th, 1999. Oh, that'll put butts in the seats. And it turned a lot of viewers to watch Mankind win the world title. Meanwhile, WCW had the finger poke of doom at the Georgia Dome. So, like, Eric did all that stuff. He knows a thing or two about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the pro wrestling business. He's had stints in WCW, obviously, WWE, TNA, and in AEW. He's done enough good and bad with each of those companies. And to be fair, he is incredibly fair and critical no matter who it is. You know, like whatever company it is, whatever they're doing, if it's good, he'll praise it. If it sucks, he'll tell you it sucks. Much like I do on this show. But I don't have a huge platform on Wednesday nights to put forth those critiques about my competition. Tony Khan should. Like, it's great. I love seeing him be they call it shit posting. You know, he's a troll. He's a message board troll. That's great. Does it help Dynamite in the ratings? No. Do something to help Dynamite in the ratings, and then maybe I'll be more sympathetic if you own someone on Twitter. But otherwise, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. So, that's there's a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling online and on screen. And I'm here for it, but Vince doesn't have to be a part of WWE for WWE to mow down another company. So Triple H has actually taken the reins and has been on fire. And that's no pun intended, because Roman Reigns is on fire too. But, enough about that. Let's talk about that Dynamite real quick before we get into some ass juice and close this thing out. We had Sting and Darby and in a tag match against Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs. It was quite literally a street fight, and Sting took a crazy scorpion death drop back bump through a table on Hobbs. Head may or may not have hit the concrete floor, but look on the bright side. He's only got a few more months of this, and then he can hang it up. And speaking of, as the night ended, who came out to interrupt Sting and Darby Allin? None other than the Young Bucks. And I definitely have seen critiques of how, this is not the move. Why would the Young Bucks be the ones to be go against Sting and Darby? How dare they, do that? Like, oh, it's the EVPs. They want the spotlight and all this and that. And, oh, it should have been FTR. Let me tell you this. So, earlier today, so former Chairshot Reality co-host Brian Ghoulish. Love to get him on the Juice Box one of these days. I'll have to reach out to him, see what we can pull off. But and if you're out there, tweet at Brian. Let him know Juice Springsteen would like to get him on the Juice Box. We can hash out some WCW stuff. I'd love that. Maybe I could do a watch along with Brian Ghoulish now that I think about it. Really never thought about it. But he put out today, if Sting's final match is with the Young Bucks, is that good or bad? And he says, here's a chair shot of reality for everyone. Vote 1 for me, worse than bad. Makes no sense at all. Well, this is what I said on there, and this is what I'm going to say to you now. I think it's a great idea because it's a high-profile team in AEW. Sure, they're the EVPs, but I mean, AEW is elite because the elite are there, and that's part of it. And the Young Bucks have been a stalwart in this company, so why not them? And for this particular spot, whether you put over Sting or not, they're going to be the biggest possible heels to face Sting and Darby in his final match. They're going to bump around crazy for Sting. Darby Allin can get chucked around the ring, which, God, the spot he took, he's going to retire before Sting. And it's just a perfect match. Sting can look great. the Bucks can look great. Darby can look like a maniac. And the match can go off without a hitch and be a great story told in the ring at the end of the day. And look, I'm one of the bigger Young Bucks fans that I know. It probably has cooled off since AEW has begun because the Young Bucks used to be literally the hottest tag team in the world that wasn't in WWE, and they were all over the place, Ring of Honor and just PWG and New Japan, and then AEW starts, and it's like, well, here they are, and they're on main TV every week, and it's amazing, and it's not that they're like watered down or anything, it's just like I'm in a different place as a fan than I was before, and I still love them. I love their shtick. Their shtick is what's going to get Sting and Darby Allin in this match to make the match a lot better than I think it could be. But I think now they're almost at that veteran level heel where they can add add to what they've built up thus far with their characters and stuff. So I like the Young Bucks as this team if it's going to be them to face Darby and Sting at Revolution. So we'll see. FTR could totally do it, but FTR are huge baby faces, and it just wouldn't make sense. I'd much rather see Sting and Darby be this great babyface team going against the Young Bucks. God, they're annoying. Like, get them off my TV. Like, that would be perfect. That is what I want. And that's looking like what we're going to get. So I'm here for it. And it seems like Sting requested for them. So quit gatekeeping Sting's retirement. You're not Sting. There's only one Sting. And he can request whoever the hell he wants to wrestle. So chill. Outside of that, Samoa Joe had a little promo. Looks like we're going to get Joe and Hook potentially next week. So Hook versus Jinder in the ratings. Let's go. Adam Copeland was in an 8-man. He fought Griff Garrison on Collision last week. What is happening? Sammy Guevara and Ricky Starks had a fun match. Hangman had a great match with Claudio. Crowd was great. Love Daly's Place. I wish they would run more shows there, but I mean, they ran a lot in the pandemic there, so I guess that's, enough. But man, Swerve looks incredibly over. And I think he's on the ascension. He continues to be on the ascension. I don't think he's going to stop. I think he's going to end up winning the world title here in 2024. The Undisputed Kingdom thing, man, I'm already done. I'm already over it. I'm waiting for Wardlow to get the hell out of that group and get out of AEW and do something else. I just don't know. I don't know who booked it, who thought this was a good idea. I feel so bad for him. Unless this was like his idea, maybe I don't know. But it just doesn't seem like something Wardlow would organically want to be involved with. And it just seems like he's miserable. He's the Jindrak of Evolution. Catch that reference, more power to you. Dynamite was decent, but not good enough to crack 800,000 viewers, so shout out Tony Khan for pumping those ratings up with that social media war. Let's get into a quick little TNA deal, and then we will close with some Ask Juice before we head out. Let's do the TNA Hard to Kill. Just a little preview. I just want to run down the matches. All right, so digital media title was on the line. I mentioned that, and it's on the pre-show, but I mentioned that because that's one of the new titles that has been revealed. All of the new titles that TNA has come up with here and been designed by Hellfire. Hellfire Designs is the championship creator here. They made unbelievable looking belts. They look gorgeous. And I'm looking forward to this TNA, baby. TNA in 2024. This is going to be a hell of a year for them, I think. And this is a great way to start it off. So I'm just going to run down some of the guys on this card and just kind of go over it. We've got Josh Alexander, who's been a stalwart in TNA for a while, against Alex Hammerstone, quickly becoming one of the big free agents out there. We'll see where he ultimately ends up. There's a 4-way tag for the TNA World Tag Titles. We got Speedball Mike Bailey in there, Chris Bay, Ace Austin, the Grizzled Young Vets, Trey Miguel and Zach Wentz. A lot of young talent there I really like. Knockouts Ultimate X match, which will be fun. We got Dirty Dango, formerly Fandango, versus PCO. That's a match I never thought we'd see. 3-way match for the X Division title, Kushida, Vikingo, and Chris Sabin. Wow. Jordan Grace with her Call Your Shot title match cashing in against Trinity. Could this be Trinity's final match in TNA? And will we see Naomi return at the Royal Rumble? Only one way to find out. And then Alex Shelley defends the TNA World title against Moose. As Moose cashes in his Feast or Fired World title match. So that'll be fun. I think it's going to be a fun show. I will definitely be trying to watch it. So we'll see how it all unfolds. TNA, hard to kill. I don't know. I love this rebranding. It was so random that it happened. Out of all the ideas, it's the first time since 2016 that TNA has been used. I guess the full brand. But out of all the things that Impact could have done, to rebrand as the former brand is just genius. And it's a recognizable brand. It's honestly gone away from the obvious sexual innuendo that kind of led TNA back in the day. And I love it. I cannot wait. I'm thrilled. So more good wrestling is better for all wrestling. So I'm here for it. All right, let's tackle a little Ask Juice. These primarily came in from Wrestling Nation. And I will quickly go over it. Ask Juice, do you think the Young Bucks are a good opponent for Sting's last match? Or is there someone else I'd rather see? I already kind of answered that. So, yeah, I think the Bucks are a great opponent. I think it could have been FTR, but as heels, I think the Young Bucks are the perfect choice to face Sting and Darby. Do you think WWE should put a limit on how many pre-announced entries they do for the Royal Rumble? In previous years, when they announced 25 plus, it seems like the surprise factor is gone once people add up that all the unannounced spots have been filled. Whew, this is something that I've been wanting to have change for so long, especially in this age of social media. I mean, let's think. John Cena in 2008 is a great return. Diesel in the 2011 Rumble, Booker T in one of those Rumbles, DDP in the 2015 Rumble, Edge, of course, in the 2020 Rumble. Just very few moments have happened with such a surprise that it really had you saying, wow, I can't believe they surprised us like that in this day and age. And now they announce so many damn guys and girls for the Women's Rumble as well. It's the same thing. They announced so many guys. It's like, okay, well, there's only 3 people left, and we know who potentially these other 3 are. So why should we care? I think you should, if there's going to be something announced, let number 1 be announced. Don't let number 2 be announced, or never announce 1, never announce number 30. I would say a good sweet spot is half or less. 15 or less people could be announced for this Rumble, and I would be thrilled because you have room for randomness. You could take someone out if you need to. You have legends that could come in, and that goes for the women's one too, because the women's one's almost worse because there's only so much women's talent in WWE. However, as the years have gone on, I think it's vastly improved, and we have a huge, wide variety of depth in the women's division, so that's not as big as a problem. But yeah, announce 15 or less, and I think we've got a sweet spot. Where exactly does AEW go from here? Matt Presto asking. Besides the Sting retirement, they really have nothing going on that's fruitful. He left out Undisputed, though, because literally the big payout cannot be cashed in for at a minimum 4 to 6 months and probably longer, and it doesn't do it for him without the MJF Cole payoff. Additionally, here's Wardlow getting Wardlow again, once again where he's in a faction and given the Luchasaurus Christian arc that we already watched in regards to, you're going to win and give the title to me, which we've seen in 1988 when Andre the Giant won the title from Hulk Hogan and immediately handed over to Ted DiBiase. Wardlow's in a tough spot. Luchasaurus, Killswitch rather, and Christian, that works because Christian's an amazing heel. I'm not saying Adam Cole's not an amazing heel, but Adam Cole is literally just sitting there injured, and I think that is really hindered. Don't hinder Jinder, by the way, and don't overlook Hook. It has really made it tough for this storyline to work with Adam Cole not being able to defend anything in the ring. Is Wardlow going to fight someone and then take the time? Like, it's just not going to I don't get it. I hate it. I think Wardlow should just dip. Go, leave. Triple H could make you a monster. Whether it's at NXT or on the main roster, I don't know. I think Wardlow, free Wardlow. Hashtag free Wardlow. Yeah. And then one more thing. Ask Juice. This comes from Donnie. Do you think with the increased size of the roster and the addition of NXT as an established third brand over the years, along with there now being a possibility for cross-promotion with other companies, that WWE should raise the number of entrants in the Royal Rumble to 40 or even possibly 50 to give more opportunities and more surprises? In a short answer, no. They did 40 in 2011 when Del Rio won it, and that was the biggest Royal Rumble of all time. And then that was kind of annoying to have in the history books, so they had the greatest Royal Rumble, which gave us nothing other than Titus O'Neil's incredible, legendary Botchamania worth entrance. So that was dope. But outside of that, no. The Rumble should be 30. I think that NXT should be incorporated more. Yeah, if you announce only 15, you could put 2 NXT guys in there. You could put 2 legends in there. And you can have 2 returns in there. And you still have 9 additional talent you could do. Like, there's so many ways to go about it. And I just don't know if WWE necessarily goes, and plays all the cards that they have. And they have a lot of damn cards. A lot of talent. A lot of, they could get people from anywhere to come in. You might see Naomi come into WWE as as TNA Knockouts champion. Because they've done that before. But Naomi would be huge. There's a lot of options now. And since CM Punk has been back, I honestly thrown the, that could never happen book out the window. Anything could literally happen. Vince McMahon used to say it all the time on commentary, and quite frankly, I got it. I got it. Believe that he felt, hey, I'm the president, I'm the owner of the company. I could say anything can happen because it's under my watch. But he'd go, anything can happen at the World Wrestling Federation. So anything can happen in WWE. So the Royal Rumble is the most unpredictable night of the year, and it's also subsequently sometimes the most predictable event of the year because you know half the people that are in there already, if not more. So give me 15 or less. That's a sweet spot. And I think it's just a strong way to go about it overall. So we shall see what goes on with the Rumble this year, but I do think CM Punk's going to win it. Wow, so we covered quite a bit there. I'm glad we talked a lot about the Tony Khan, Eric Bischoff, Jinder Mahal, Hook, USA Network, Twitter war, whatever you want to call it. There will be a little social media video I put out in regards to that as well, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, happy birthday to the Juice Box. I'm so thrilled that we've got a year under the belt, and I'm looking forward to more Triple Threat Theater, the SIP series, some predictions, potentially some random retrospective mini episodes, and of course, potentially some watch-along programming. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. So any ideas, shoot them my way at Juicy Steen on Twitter, at Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram. Hey, Wrestling Nation, throw me a text. You got my number. JuicySteen.podbean.com. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you listen to it on Apple and iTunes, please give it 5 stars or 5 straws. That would really help out the Juice Box as we move into year number 2. Whew. But yeah, look out for next week's episode. And we got the predictions the following week for the Royal Rumble, so I cannot wait for that. But this has been a fun one. Appreciate all the support from everybody out there. Juice Box is 1 year old, and we got a left in the tank, as Mark Henry once said. So for everybody here at the Juice Box, me, Juice Springsteen, I really hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy Super Wildcard Weekend. Football is real. This is the best time of year, baby. Wildcard Weekend, divisional. The conference title games are on my birthday, a day after the Royal Rumble. Love this time of year. So without further ado, it's me, it's Juice Springsteen. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next week for another exciting edition of the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.